Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Big Game Bound. I'm Jack Doles. We're through the first quarter of this season. We've had our first firing. We'll tell you about that. We'll also look into which teams are contenders. Our playbook, Jarrett Payton, will reveal his top 5. Latest from Nashville, where the Titans had the unscheduled week off because of COVID-19. We'll check in with our team of correspondents to preview Bills, Titans, Colts at Browns. And our guest is Dr. Jen Welter, a pioneer, the first woman ever to coach in the NFL. And the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White, drops some Vegas knowledge on us. We'll start with the insights of Jarrett Payton. He joins us every week from Chicago. Jarrett, great way to start week 5, Bears and Bucks. Do you think Tom Brady has the attention of that Bears defense after what he did to the Chargers?
Yes, I definitely do, Jack. It's amazing to see Tom Brady at this age still be able to be locked in and dialed in. And even when his team is down, he can find a way to be able to bring them back. I think the Bears, coming off of this loss to the Colts, it's going to be rough for them. It's a short week for both teams, the Bucks and the Bears. They got to figure it out. But you look at that Tampa Bay squad coming in, they're going to a little banged up as well. So on a short week, that's not going to be easy. The Bears just have to fix a couple of things, but definitely Tom Brady is on their mind right now.
Jarrett, the commissioner has told teams if they don't follow COVID protocol, they could end up having to forfeit a game. Would that punishment be too harsh or just right after what we went through in the league last week?
No, I don't think it's too harsh at all, Jack. I mean, we all knew coming into this, it was going to be difficult with the pandemic and trying to play the game of football. And when it comes down to it, when you love the game as much as you do, you have to take all the necessary precautions to make sure that you're not only healthy, your family at home's not healthy, but those guys inside of that locker room as well. And each guy that walks inside of those doors, they're committed. They're committed to not only themselves, but those guys inside that locker room. And so this is what you have to do. You have to be stern and you have to kind of set the example. And it's just not a good look. And we know coming into this is going to be a possibility where we are going to see positive tests, but you got to be able to find a way and you got to be strong. If the commissioner is serious, he sounds like he is, he's going to put it on these teams, these owners and everybody to get it done, have those protocols in place, but also put a lot of this weight on these guys when they're outside of those facilities.
All right, first coach fired. The Texans part ways with Bill O'Brien, who's also their GM. Agree or disagree with this move?
Oh, Jack, this one's tough for me, man, because you start 0-4 and things are rocky. I can totally understand where the organization is coming from. If you're an owner and you see things that aren't going the way that you expected them to go, especially, you start to look at that team last year into this year and everybody was expecting a lot of that ball club. But this is rough times, and these are different times as well. As we were just talking about a pandemic and all the stuff that else that's going on, I think it's hard to be able to fire a coach during these times right now. And it already puts a big more question marks over the head of whoever's going to be taking over and what's going to happen for the future of the franchise as well. But I can see why. Not only the start of the season, but when you trade off DeAndre Hopkins, and you see that right there, to me, one of the best receivers in the game, that right there is very, very hard to kind of swallow and a tough pill to swallow. And so I could see why, with how things didn't start out fast enough, why they went and made the decision to switch it up.
All right, we're quarter way through. Who are your top 5 teams? We teased this last week. Who are your top 5? Let's start at number 5 and work our way to 1.
All right, so I didn't even have them in any order, but now that you forced me to do it, I'm going to figure it out. All right, let's go. I think at number 5, I'm going to go Steelers, right? Just because there's something about this Steelers squad that just excites me. And I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger just seems to be back focused again, and they figured it out. And we always know how tough they are on defense. Then I'm going to go the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson is still one of those, the top quarterback and a young quarterback. And I think he's just scratching the surface about how good he can actually be defensively. Can they stay strong? I think they could be in that conversation. Next, I'm going with Seattle. Just because of the way that Russell Wilson is playing right now. He is playing at an MVP caliber. And I just always look at when you have a great quarterback, anything can happen, and that can energize your club as well. Next, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. I hope my dad is not watching from heaven right now because he probably would strike down the house. But listen, the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing, and Jack, you and I had the conversation. Like, what are they doing in Green Bay? They have Aaron Rodgers. Are they surrounding him with the right weapons? Is he going to be able to be successful? And they didn't do enough. Well, when you're, if not the greatest quarterback in my mind to ever play the game, and people count you out, you find a way to get it done. And that's what we've been seeing. He's finding a way to get it done defensively. They got to get better on defense as well. But I think offensively, you look at Aaron Rodgers and look at their record, Green Bay would be number 2. And then number 1, it's that guy with the floppy hair that looks like my son, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the weapons that he has, on offense, the command that he has of the offense, the ease that he's playing at, it's phenomenal to be able to watch. And defensively, they know what it takes to be able to get the job done to win a Super Bowl championship. And so can they stay healthy? Can they figure out how to be? Because as good as their offense is, your defense has to be either comparable or pretty close. They can do that again. There's no reason why they can't be in Tampa Bay hoisting up another Lombardi trophy. So the 2 top teams, though, that I mentioned, Jack, you look at the quarterback play, even the top 3 teams, the quarterback play is at such a high level right now for both the Seahawks, the Green Bay Packers, and Kansas City. It's why I feel like it sets them apart from all the other teams.
One of the marquee games on the schedule for Week 5 is from the AFC, Bills and Titans. It's scheduled for 1 o'clock Sunday on CBS. But the Titans had 2 more players test positive for COVID on Wednesday, another one today. So the league is looking into the possibility of moving the game to Monday or Tuesday. There's even talk of a forfeit. Corey Curtis is our correspondent from the Titans, joins us from Nashville. The commissioner came out and said this week that teams that don't follow COVID protocol could forfeit games. How concerned are the Titans about that statement?
Well, today Mike Vrabel was asked about the NFL's investigation, and he said he stands by himself, John Robinson, the general manager, and the organization and their efforts to work within the rules of the protocol. Listen, I've been covering Mike Vrabel for 3 years, and I would find it very surprising that they thumb their nose at the protocol, because ever since he's been here, he's always had a typical answer when asked about the rules. He said, tell me the rules, and then he goes to his team and tells them what the rules are and what they have to follow. So it would be very surprising to me if they were in a wildly egregious position of not following the protocol. Now, having said that, you know, this is new to all of us, and we've seen coaches on the sideline and other people break protocol probably without even knowing they were doing it. So I think it would be naive to say that the Titans haven't broken protocol in some regards. I just find it hard to believe that they would wildly do it. Now, as far as there being a forfeit, listen, the last thing the NFL wants to do is to impose a forfeit on anyone, because then they are cutting off their nose to spite their face, because it's going to cost them millions and millions of dollars in revenue if they cancel that game. So, Jack, while I see why they put that out there as the big deterrent, you know, the big bazooka to say, hey, don't do this or this, it's the last thing the NFL wants to do. And the only scenario where I can see the NFL actually causing a team, Titans or any other 31 teams, to forfeit is if they run out of game space, okay? So they're already talking about instilling a Week 18. And a Week 18 would then be in play. Say the Titans couldn't play the Bills this weekend. Something happened, and they can't play them. That game would likely then get moved to Week 18. And now the Titans are out of space, okay? And so something else happens, and another game gets postponed, and they find that they're in egregious breaking of protocol. Then I could see them saying, well, now you're going to forfeit, because it's a game that's not going to be played anyway. But I have a hard time seeing the NFL canceling any games that it doesn't have to, because there's just so much money at stake. And let's face it, they've already lost enough money this year.
Mm-hmm. All right, this team was rolling along, 3 tight wins in their first 3 games. What type of an impact are you expecting last week to have?
Oh, it's going to have a massive impact, Jack. I mean, look, They've got 9 players down. They've got their 2 best starting defensive linemen, Jeffrey Simmons and Daquan Jones, down. They've got their 4th outside linebacker, Kamale Correa, down. They've got their 2nd-round pick, Christian Fulton, who is starting at one of their 3 corner spots, down right now. Their defense wasn't that good to begin with. Just gave up 200 yards rushing to Dalvin Cook. They've given up 30 points in back-to-back games. Listen, they're going to have to put up a massive number to keep up with the Buffalo Bills. This is a big mountain to climb for this football team, and if they pull this one off, Mike Vrabel will have really earned his paycheck. Yeah, Buffalo comes into this game 4-0. What is Mike Vrabel saying about this Bills team? He's impressed with how quickly they've started and their ability to go out there and put points on the board right off the bat. You know, we spent most of the day today when we talked to him talking about protocols and their hopes and dreams of getting back on the field. We spent very little time talking about the Bills, but that did come out. You know, you watch this team, and they're a different team offensively right now. Josh Allen getting another year better, and Stephon Diggs, you know, has really retransformed that offense into something that it's never been before. He's got a legitimate target now, and they can jump on you and jump on you quickly. Another great matchup in Week 5 sends the Colts to Cleveland. Both teams 3-1 right now. We'll start with Chris Hagan in Indianapolis. Chris, the Colts laid an egg in Week 1. Since then, held the Vikings to 11 points, Jets to 7, and the Bears to 11. How good is this defense?
Stats are good, Jack, but let's not go crazy here. You're talking about an 0-4 Jets team, a 1-3 Vikings team, and a 1-3 Jaguars team. But, yeah, most telling, they go on the road, they knock off the undefeated Bears and held them to only 28 yards rushing. That's a big deal. This defense, I think, kind of coming into its own with some new pieces brought in, some veteran talent, some rookies on the back end. And, yeah, you win games with defense. Offense sells tickets. Well, if they still sold tickets these days. But defense wins you the championships.
All right, they'll be tested this week, strength versus strength. The Browns have scored 118 points the last 3 weeks. What's the key to slowing Cleveland down on Sunday?
Well, I think it starts with that run defense we talked about. Cleveland will be without Nick Chubb, their stud running back, but the cupboard is not bare. They have Kareem Hunt. So slowing down that rushing attack will make Baker Mayfield less effective with that play-action pass. They like to get him outside the tackles, roll him out, and that's where he makes some hay. And also, need to look out for those trick plays. You saw the Browns going deep in the playbook to get that win against the Cowboys down in Big D. So maintaining your responsibility, stop the run, and look out for the trick plays. That will be the key to slowing down this Browns attack, and I think the Colts will be able to get that done.
Well, the Colts had the ball in Chicago territory a lot, Chris, but only managed to put it in the end zone once. Are the guys buying into Phillip Rivers being the guy that can lead this team to an AFC South title?
Well, that's the bugaboo, right? You talk about not finishing those drives. It's one thing to have all these long possessions. You have to put up 7 and not 3 in this league. It will come back to haunt you. It didn't last Sunday, but it will maybe this Sunday and moving forward. Rivers has to finish those drives. T.Y. Hilton needs to get more involved and create some big plays because, let's face it, you don't want to really put a game on the leg of Rodrigo Blankenship. He is the rookie, undrafted rookie free agent. He's got a big leg, had a huge career at Georgia, but he has been a little bit shaky. He's made all of his extra points. He's only missed 2 field goals, but they have squeaked by, Jack. Some of those just in the uprights. He's hit the upright a few times, and they've gone in. So I don't think you want to trot him out there in a 2-point game, let's say, for a 45-yarder. You need to stack those points when you can, even if it's in the first quarter, the second quarter, what have you. That happened in Week 1. The Colts only lost. They had a 4th and 1 inside the Jaguars' 5. Went for it. Didn't get it. Didn't get the 3, didn't get the 7. They ended up losing that game, have won all the games since, but hopefully for their sake, lesson learned about making sure you finish those drives whenever they occur in the red zone.
Chris, the AFC looks really top-heavy. Chiefs, Steelers, Bills, Titans, all undefeated. Ravens still one of the best teams in the league. Make a case why the Colts should be in the conversation.
Well, I think the Colts are a good matchup with all of those teams except for perhaps the Chiefs, because really who's a good matchup for the Chiefs? Actually, the Colts went to KC last year, Jack, and they won at KC, beating the eventual Super Bowl champions. So I don't think they'd be intimidated, although this is kind of a different-looking Colts squad. I like the way they'd match up with the Ravens. You talk about great run defense, and we've seen that if you can make the Ravens have to play uphill or play from behind, they're not the same team. They like to jump out and get a lead and dictate the tempo. I think that would be a good matchup. The Titans, long rivals in the AFC South. That would look like a good one as well. But, you know, here we are, what is it, week 5, Jack, and we're sitting here pontificating about who could win the AFC. A lot of football left to be played. And this year, we have the old bugaboo, the COVID-19. That could disrupt some teams and some schedules as well. But, yeah, if we're going to sit here and talk about it a quarter way through the season, I think you definitely can make a good case for the Colts. They're red hot. They need to get more out of Phillip Rivers. We talked about that earlier. They didn't bring him in here to pass for 500 yards a game and be an MVP. They brought him in here to take care of the ball. But there will be a point in this season, be it the regular season or the playoffs, you're going to need Phillip Rivers to dust off that arm, come out slinging his sidearm pass, and maybe win a game for you in the fourth quarter.
For more on the Browns, we call on John Telich. John, this was the start we expected last year from the Browns. Have they finally arrived?
Well, I'll tell you something, Jack. I think this is a team that has no drama. And I think that's what you always saw in the previous iterations of the Cleveland Browns. There was always drama. There was friction between the front office and the coaching staff. There was friction between the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Now you have the general manager of the team, Andrew Berry. You have the head coach, Stefanski, literally joined at the hip in concert, how they walk through each and every day, practices, discussions about practices and what to do with the next opponents. So there's no drama. So that means they look like a professional football team. And Jack, I'll tell you this too. Without the drama, there's really, and the way that they work together, I think it's a great recipe for success because there's no egos involved. In this building, the egos are gone. Now, you might say some of the players have egos, yes. But as far as the coaching staff and Kevin Stefanski, there really is no ego involved. There's all collaboration. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Odell Beckham, 4 touchdowns in 4 games. How much of an emphasis has Kevin Stefanski made to make sure he's involved in this offense?
Well, he made some big plays 2 weeks ago, key third down catches that he had. That's cool. But on Sunday against the Cowboys, he got the ball in 2 different ways that Baker Mayfield basically was not even involved in. He caught a pass from Landry, and then he took a little pitch on an end around, and he ran 50 yards with it. His skills are back. A year ago, I think he was bugged a lot by the physical limitations because he had a core muscle injury. He played the whole season through, and he had surgery. He rehabbed. He feels better. And when he took that ball to the house on the 50-yarder on Sunday, the speed that he showed was what you saw 2 or 3 years ago. So he's back. Yeah, you do try to get those guys involved. I think you do. And when you do, and he's happy, and they're clicking with the ball on the ground, running the football, that's a fun offense to watch.
Yeah, Brown's running game has been really strong, but Chubb got injured on Sunday. How good does the Kareem Hunt signing look now?
Well, a lot of people laughed. You know, Kareem, you undersold yourself when you signed this deal. You're worth so much more. But Kareem was very appreciative of the fact that the Browns went out on a limb for him, so he's happy to be a part of the team. He just doesn't have the ego. Again, there's that word again. He doesn't have the ego that he is one of the top backs in the NFL, even though he is the backup to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is a leader on the team, and he says so little. They believe so much in him. So it was great. It was a great move on the Browns' part. Again, they're doing these things that you're not supposed to have here in Cleveland in the last several years. You're not supposed to sign a backup running back before he's due to go out on the market. And they're doing those types of things left and right. They signed Myles Garrett long before it was time for him. So something strange going on in Berea, Ohio, Jack. I don't know what it is.
Winning is fun, isn't it? How concerning is this defense right now, though? Only 5 teams have given up more yardage. Only 5 have given up more points than the Browns.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. This is a work in progress, and that's where you're really going to be tested. You have a new defensive coordinator in Joe Woods implementing a system, and there's just too many answers or questions, I should say, on the back 7 of this defense. The defensive line with Garrett, Ogunjobi, Vernon, those types of guys, Sheldon Richardson, that's no problem. Leave them alone. But the linebackers are work in progress. Too many injuries on the defensive backfield. They're anchored there by Denzel Ward. You worry, can Denzel Ward get through each game without tweaking his hamstring or his groin or what have you? But by and large, they've been way too generous letting teams go up and down the field on them. Where they have excelled in the last couple of games, Jack, is they are +8 in the takeaway department. And not only are they taking the ball away, they are converting, which they were not doing in the past years.
Our big guest this week is a trailblazer. Dr. Jen Welter was the first female coach in NFL history, and she joins us now from Los Angeles. Dr. Jen, thanks for joining us. How much pride do you take in being the first woman to land a coaching job in the NFL?
You know, I think the best answer is seeing all the women out there just gives me so much joy, right? And knowing that it's created a generation where girls can look at football and dream football just like the boys can.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago when the Browns played Washington, each team had a woman on their staff. We saw Sarah Thomas was on the officiating crew. How much progress has been made, and what would you like to see in 5-10 years from now?
Well, you know, Sarah Thomas and I were on the sidelines together for the very first game with the Arizona Cardinals. So she is like my sister from another mister. Callie Brunson was with me on Team USA as a teammate, and Jennifer King was with me in the Alliance League. So it really feels like a family affair. It's glad to see women out there, and I think we're all looking towards the time when it's a new normal, right? When it's not something outside of the box. And what I would like to see is that continues to grow, and that you know, women find their place and their voice, and I think that's what we all hope for.
Why football? What attracted you to this sport?
To me, there's no sport like football. It is the ultimate team game, right? You can look out on the football field and see that diversity is a strength. You need everything from straight hustle to straight muscle and a whole lot of crazy. I always say I was crazy, working together in what really comes out to be a choreographed dance in a game like full contact chess. So lots of tackles and lots of strategy. How could you not love football?
You were also the first woman to play in a men's professional league, the Texas Revolution, in the Indoor Football League. In your first game, you took a pretty good shot. What was that like, and what did you say to the guy that hit you?
Well, I took a few pretty good shots, but, you know, when the place was going crazy, right? Everybody's like, it was so loud. And I kind of thought that the guys were talking smack. I didn't realize that everybody was cheering because I got back up. And so I just kind of looked at him and I was like, is that all you got? And, you know, of course, it was all they had, and I was good to go. So to me, that was one of those moments where you take the very best hits that someone has to give you, you get back up and you line back up and do it again.
Well, I know you had a shot in the Alliance League. You were a defensive specialist coach, and unfortunately that league didn't last. Do you hope to get back into the National Football League? Coaching
is in my blood. I will be coaching somewhere, I think, for the rest of my life. And if that's the league, then it could be the league. Also looking forward to seeing the XFL come back and what they do. But the answer is yes. I love football, and you'll see me in it for as long as I think we watched football on TV.
How important is it that somebody like Bruce Arians does what he did for you?
Bruce Arians really set the standard for what it should look like, and gave permission for all the other coaches who thought, not only could this work, but yes, this is a good thing. So I think BA is not only a champion of me, but of all women. And I hope other guys see that and say, where can I champion women in my life as well?
Without a team to coach now, how are you passing the time?
Honestly, I've actually been writing children's books during the pandemic. We created a series called Critter Fitter to help kids get fitter by using critters, and we have 4 books out now. I also founded Gridiron Girls, which is a national camp tour for flag football, teaching the girls there is no game they cannot play and no field they do not belong in or on.
Last thing, what does it mean to you to see young girls that maybe want to pursue and be like you? Girls that have been inspired by you, Dr. Jen.
It's everything. Really, for girls to look out on the football field and see that they could be there and feel passionate about it. Whatever it is that I think you're passionate about it, I want them to do it. And if it's football, then do it. And as I say, let your game speak, right? Give them whiplash with your ponytail because you love it so much that you can't help but be good at it. Especially in a place, in a space where they might not be used to seeing girls. It's really important that they're inspired and passionate because it's not always going to be easy. And anything I can do to give them motivation along the way, I'm going to do it.
Kenny White is the Wizard of Odds. He's an odds maker, sports market analyst. You can see him on CBS Sportsline, and he's the author and publisher of Kenny White's College Football Power Ratings. You can get that in a PDF or 3-hole binder. He predicts the final score of every college football game, basically telling you what the odds and total should be for each game. And he joins us every week from Las Vegas. Kenny, we're 4 weeks into the season now. Is there a team that you wouldn't bet a dime on straight up that you'd consider putting good money on with a spread?
Yeah, Jack. Well, there's a couple, and I start with the head coach because that's the foundation, and the coach, how he represents the organization and how he gets his is so important in the NFL. And I do have a list of 5 guys. I will not bet on these teams until they prove to me that they are worthy of it. So the Chargers, Anthony Lynn, very down on him and his team. I just don't like the play calling. I don't like his game plan. The New York Jets, Adam Gase, just has not done anything with any of the talent. Miami got better after he left there. The New York Giants, Joe Judge, brand new guy. They hire a guy because he's from New England, but he's never an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. It's so important to have that experience to have those jobs before you're the head guy, and I just knew he would fail from the beginning. Vic Fangio from Denver, he's a great defensive coordinator, not made out to be a head coach. And John Gruden for the Las Vegas Raiders, I will not trust him with a nickel of my money or a penny of my money. I just don't believe in what he's doing there. Bill O'Brien was on the list, moving up, and then Dan Quinn now takes the 6th spot after Bill O'Brien was fired.
Yeah, there's some coaches on the hot seat in there as well. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Kenny, you pointed out quarterbacks were being protected and holding calls were way down, advantage offense. What kind of an impact does it have on the lines, especially on the over-unders?
Yeah, major effect. The scoring now in games are up almost 7 points per game. Well, what do the bookmakers and odds makers have to do? They have to continue to raise those totals. Week 1 totals were 45.5. Week 2, 46.2. Week 3, 48. Week 4, 49.5. And then week 5 right now, we're at 50.5. Week 4's total was the highest total for all games on the board in over 30 years. And then now we're going to break it 1 week later. So it's high scoring. Games are up 7 points. And you're right. The holding penalties have gone from 0.94 a game to 0.9, 0.9, 0.21 this last week. The average over the last 5 years, 2.74 offensive holding penalties per game. So they're just way down. They are starting to move up. So you're going to have to expect unders to start cashing soon.
Offensive linemen are loving those numbers, I can promise you that. Prop bets are always fun to look at. We've seen the first coach fired. You already mentioned some coaches, but which ones right now are the odds makers putting money on to be the next one gone?
Hey, Bill O'Brien got fired with an 0-4 start, but he played a murderer's row of teams. He played 4 teams that I can make a case that all could play in the Super Bowl this year. So that was a tough schedule. Dan Quinn, on the other hand, he's 0-4. He's played a couple decent teams, but his team has gone backwards, and they've had leads and they've blown those leads. That's a horrible coaching job when you blow a big lead as Dan Quinn did back-to-back weeks in a row. I can see Dan Quinn being the next coach out.
NFC East, without question, the weakest division in the NFL. Who wins that division? What's the number being offered for wins to win the East?
My projection would be 7.5 would be the number. I'd make you lay a little juice to go over that, maybe $1.50 or $1.60. But my projections right now, my model is showing the Cowboys are going to win 7.6 games and win the division by 2 games. I think the Cowboys are an outstanding bet at -110. That's all they are right now, -110 to win the division. This is a great bet. They're going to win by 2 games here, Jack. There's too many injuries on Philadelphia, and the Washington Redskins and the Giants, they just don't have the talent to be able to challenge the Cowboys. So Dallas, watch them. They're going to be playing the Packers, but don't worry, the Packers will take care of them in the playoffs.
That'll do it for week 5 of Big Game Bound. We'll do this again next week. Same place, same time. Hope to see you then. Big thanks to Corey Curtis, Chris Hagan, John Tellich, Jarrett Payton, our guest, Dr. Jen Welter, and Kenny White. For Spencer Wheelock and our crew from Grand Rapids, I'm Jack Doles. Enjoy week 5. It all starts tonight with the Bears and Buccaneers.